Today's September 9th. Today's quote is entitled Problem Solving Formula, and it's very simple. Face it, feel it, deal with it, and do it. I gave a 2-hour lecture on this recently, so I'm going to compress that lecture into a few minutes. Why is it hard to face it? Well, it's hard to admit we have a problem. A lot of us can't admit we have problems. A lot of companies have problems. They can't admit it. They can't see it. They don't want to see it. They think they're fine. We may have problems we can't see. We don't want to see. We think we're fine, whatever it is. So being open to face the problem. Somebody may tell you, you know, you have this problem. No, no, I don't. You have the problem. It's not me. Why are you picking on me? What's wrong with you? I'm fine. Acknowledging the problem. There's a lot of resistance to acknowledging a problem, because if we acknowledge a problem that is not congruent, it's not aligned with the way we see ourselves, that's difficult. The false ego just goes, no, you're not like that. Because you see yourself as a good person, someone says you did something bad, or you do bad things, or you think bad ways. No, I don't. I'm a good person. So it's really hard to acknowledge a problem which goes against the way we see ourselves. Or to acknowledge a problem that makes us feel perhaps we're not as great as we thought we are, makes us feel like a failure. Or acknowledge a problem which we prided ourselves in not being that way. So that's big. So there's resistance there. And there's even more resistance to step 2, which is feel it. In other words, until you allow yourself to feel it, how does that problem make you feel? Well, why didn't you want to face it? What's that feeling that was preventing you from facing it? Feel it. Why do you have to feel it? Because if you don't feel it, you don't get through that uncomfortable emotion. If you don't get through that uncomfortable emotion, then you don't want to deal with it. So face it, feel it. They can go either way, but obviously you have to acknowledge the problem before you can feel it. But in facing the problem, there's some feeling, but you have to go fully through the feeling. How do you feel? Well, I feel like a failure. I feel shame. I feel guilt, whatever it is. But as you go through that, you release the emotion, so now you can work on the problem, and you've been able to confront it, so you're free now without resistance to work on it. So that's the next thing, is deal with it. How are you going to solve the problem? That's stage 3. Okay, let's think about it. I've accepted the problem. I've allowed myself to feel it, so I've got rid of that resistance of dealing with it that's surrounded by all these uncomfortable feelings, and now I'm thinking how to solve it. What are we going to do? This is really the blissful part of the solution process, is we see there's a way out of this mess, and we make a plan, and we see if we execute the plan, then eventually we're going to get better. So it's a very positive part of the process. But the next step may have resistance, because the next step is do it. And the doing may not be so easy. So then the resistance comes. I don't know if I can do it. It's too much trouble. Uncomfortable feelings come back. This is going to be hard. What if I fail? Or what if I succeed and I rock the world and then I'm known by millions of people? Then how will I deal with that? Whatever it is, execution can be difficult. Where do I find the time? How do I schedule it in? I'm already so busy as it is. So, but here's the thing, and this is the most important thing that I could say, and probably one of the most important things for any organization or any individual. The time it takes for you to realize a problem and then go through this 4-step process will determine how successful you're going to be. Because if you have a problem and you don't acknowledge it for 10 years, that means you live with that problem for 10 years. And let's say you acknowledge it in 10 years, but it takes you another 10 years to do the next 3 steps. So it means it took you 20 years to deal with the problem. And all of you out there who are older are thinking, yeah, there's problems I didn't deal with practically my whole life that I'm finally dealing with now. So imagine you dealt with them when you were younger and you went through this 3-step process in a few minutes. And every time there was a problem, you were like, yes, let's look at the problem. You're able to feel it. This becomes a habit. These 4 steps become a habit. You just work through problems very quickly. Wouldn't that be amazing? If you have an organization, you have a temple, you have a project, it would be amazing to see how quickly you progress if you're totally open to look at yourself objectively. What are you doing wrong? You know, take it on, feel the pain, we failed, and then look at the solution and apply it. then your organization, your temple, your project is going to skyrocket, because every time there's a problem, you'll solve it. Now, look at our movement and think about problems that we had 20 years ago or 30 years ago or 40 years ago, and ask yourself, do we still have those same problems or some aspects of those problems? In many cases, the answer is yes, we do. So that's our personal failure. I'm taking responsibility also, that if there's a problem, we haven't even become aware of it. That's part of the problem. Then we finally become aware of it, and we're still trying to work on it, and this and that, and whatever the reason is, we should look at that and think, this is a problem. This is a problem. We're not working on it. So these 4 steps are powerful. You got to face it, you got to feel it, you got to deal with it, and you got to do it. Write that down. Face it, feel it, deal with it, and do it. And put a little note under each item what that means. Acknowledge the problem as it is. Feel the emotion. Solution, step 3. Step 4, do it. Write that down and start working on whatever it is you have to work on.